Okay, my little project at the moment is TR7. This is my road car. I've got a Sprint engine in this one. Just HS6 carburetors. I purchased or I got access to a different camshaft for the Sprint engine. It has effectively a much higher lift and change of lobes. Chris calls it a Jaguar grind. I'm not sure why they call it that. Of course, in the process of just exploratory of what I'm going to do, I see I've got a evidence of a leakage from the water pump. So while I take the inlet manifold off, I'll pull the cover off and see what's going on with the water pump. I did pull that out a little while ago because the cage, the oil seal in the cage was lifting up and down, so I pulled the pump, put that oil seal back in. I changed the cage, I think is what I did, because there was something wrong with the cage that I don't know, it was bent. I'll just show this process. First off, I'll go and show you the head that I've built up with the new camshaft. Much closer tolerances than standard. Standard's like 18 thou, and this has 5 thou on the inlet and 6 on exhaust. But it's a different grind. I think it gives you a higher lift and different duration, and increase in horsepower, and that's not a bad thing, one imagines. Thinking about putting the HS8 carburetors back on, although I did buy a set of Webers with 40mm Webers, which I could do, but I'm going to have a problem because it doesn't have the yeah, I'll show you that too. Right, so okay, this is the other head that I've mounted with the Jaguar grind camshaft here. I've got adjustable sprocket to fine tune the, at the moment I've got it set at number 1 top dead center. This will allow me to get real fine adjustment on the timing. These clearances are 6 thou on the inlet, sorry, 5 thou on inlet and 6 thou on exhaust. I've mounted this to the block because if you do all the test all the clearances without it being on a block, when you actually tighten these down through the main studs, the angled studs and the straight ones, you change the inlet manifold, the inlet clearances to some degree. Now I can either, this block actually has a water pump without that bypass, which will work really well. I've got these, an option is I mount these for inlet, for Webers. The only trouble is this outlet which goes to the top of the radiator. How am I going to mount a thermostat? So that is something to consider. So I've got a set of 40mm Webers. All I need to do is get the linkages for that. Or the other option is go with the HS6 that's in the car at the moment. Excuse the mess in my little workshop down here. is I use a standard Sprint inlet manifold with some HS8 carburetors, which will look pretty cool. I'm not sure which way to go because it's the road car. I might just keep the Webers and then use that cover with the Webers, and if I use the standard I'll change covers to have the bypass that goes up into the inlet manifold. I got this scrap block from Don Robertson. Turned out I got a win. He got rid of the block, and the water pump was really good, and so was the tensioner and all sorts of stuff. So happy days. This is a 20 thou over block, but I could use that for spares. Oh, that's why I didn't want to throw it away, as well as this block down here that's being used as a table at the moment. Yeah, I don't know. I've machined the inside of the inlet manifold to allow for the larger throttle plates on the HS8. Otherwise they foul compared to HS6. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so what I've got to do here, take off the bonnet, give me access, a lot better access, battery out, remove the extractors, remove the inlet manifold. I think what I'll do is leave the HS6 for the time being. I've got an air fuel ratio gauge set up on this. I'll see how it goes. I mean, they're enough for a V8, so that should be plenty for this. And if I decide to, I can swap over to the HS8 setup. The next slide I had a real problem with this head. I had water in the oil, and it turned out to be on number 3 cylinder. There was a leak from the coolant into one of the head studs, and it would go up the head stud with just pressure, water pressure from here, thermostat housing, when there's no pressure in the engine running. So if that was pressurized, it would push water into the void for one of the head studs, which would then flow up into the oil gallery that feeds the camshaft, which is how the oil gets up in the number 1 stud in a Sprint engine. It was doing it in number 3 because there was a crack, I think, from the cooling system into the head stud, which I sealed in a very ingenious way. So I'll have to, anyway, I'm going to swap heads over and we'll see how we go. I'll jump through to after I've removed the head, I think. Okay, thanks. It occurs to me a little while ago I made possibly a cryptic comment about getting coolant into the oil under not when the engine is running. In the Sprint engine, for those who don't know, the oil comes up to lubricate the camshaft, this bridge, up the stud, number 1 stud. And then it runs through a whole series of galleries through here, which then lubricates, I don't know if you can see down there, those holes in the rockers. they lubricate the camshaft, and there's a series of oil passages from this hole up the shaft, and then through galleries through the camshaft. Well, I had a crack between coolant in the head in this stud here, number 4, if you count them from the front. There must have been a crack, or there is a crack, or was a crack, in the tunnel of the head into coolant. So water was coming from, with gravity feed, I kid thee not, I'd pour water in here and it would come out of these holes in the rockers, which are lower than that. And I thought I was in a parallel universe for a while, until I found, I was convinced that there was a hole in a gallery and it was coming up number 5, but there was no leak when I put it on a bench. There was a leak in this, the shaft, the tunnel for this stud, so I sealed it using, and then I put some O-rings top and bottom, that if it did leak into this, the gallery, the tunnel of the shaft, it wouldn't come up and feed the feed oil into coolant. It was just one of those things, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I thought I'd, in case that was a cryptic comment from before. Okay, back to it. I want to know why the hardest to bolt is the one that fights you all the way. It's a plot, a bloody plot. The bastard down in there. Anyway, I've taken one at the bottom bolt out and rotated it across the top dead centre on number 1, as per the mark there. And I've obviously taken the front cover off, and then I'll loosen the head, take that one off, and then put the head back, put another head on. Okay. What I've done at the back here, for the heater, I made a plate with an outlet, which I'll show you when I'm reassembling, because the Sprint engine had a different heater inlet and outlet, so I matched it to make my own TR7 thing. Okay, cheers. The exhaust off, chain off. Just going to undo the head studs. Inlet manifold is off. I might reuse these spark plug tubes, because they're a lot more robust than the ones that I've got in the other head. Yeah, all good. Okay, fitted the head with the vernier sprocket, and tensioner, all that sort of stuff. I still have to do exhaust and inlet manifold, and for the heater connection down in there, this is the old plate that bolts onto the back of the head there, separates the oil from the water. I've made one like this, so that's looking from inside. I've still got to clean that, and this takes water from the back of the head, or back into the head from the heater, via they're the heater connections. So the top one comes out of the heater into the top of the head and then down through the system. Anyway, there you go. Should be able to kick her in the guts in 10 minutes tomorrow sometime, maybe. So yeah.